Man, oh man, where do I start with this UFC White House card? We just witnessed the absolute best UFC card in history. I think it's safe to say that. Voice is a little bit not there. I can't believe what I just witnessed on live television. I'm going to give an instant reaction to all of these fights. Hopefully, y'all enjoy the breakdown. I'm going to have some extensive breakdown on some of these fights. And I just want to get straight into Diego Lopez, Steve Garcia with the opener. And, before I get into Diego Lopez, Steve Garcia, I just wanted to say the fights, 10 out of 10, production, 10 out of 10, the venue, 10 out of 10. Everything went right. I couldn't believe what I was watching. It felt like a dream almost. It felt like one of those nights that was just special and you knew you were watching history. And we're in a bit of a different setup right now. Back home for the summer, not in college. So, enjoying the summer. But listen, when it comes to this UFC White House card, we saw history in the making. Everything from the fights, the production, to everything in between with the live music, Zach Brown singing the national anthem, the fighter just flying over, fireworks after the main event. Beautiful card, beautiful results, all finishes in every fight, all knockouts in every fight. You went 7 for 7 on knockouts. All of the walkouts were sick. All of the results were amazing. You could not have asked for a better night as a UFC fan. And if you're working for the UFC, in the UFC, if you're a fighter, win or loss, you just experienced history. And that is something to be proud of. Like, I genuinely can't understate that or overstate that. Diego Lopez, Steve Garcia. Diego Lopez comes out in round one, bit slower approach. Steve Garcia pretty dangerous in round one. I think Steve Garcia was one of the bigger guys Diego Lopez has ever fought in his career. Diego comes in a little bit more cautious and starts looking for his shots more in round two. Steve Garcia comes out with a crazy pace. He's looking and he's landing good shots on Diego Lopez. Don't get me wrong at all. But Diego Lopez gets the job done in round two. Amazing finish. Very pleased with that fight, and it was a great opener. Bo Nickel, Kyle Dawkins. A bit of controversy in this one with Jason Herzog standing Bo Nickel up, and he was doing good work on the ground. I don't know if this was a thing they knew going into these fights. Like, hey, the wrestling exchanges, if you are not advancing in these positions, we are going to stand you up. Bit of an interesting aspect in that fight with Bo Nickel and Kyle Dawkins, but Bo Nickel, nonetheless, gets a round one finish. It would have been interesting, though. Bo Nickel comes out, he gets stood up after doing some good damage with the elbows in the wrestling exchanges. If that fight plays out differently and it goes start swinging in Kyle Dawkins' favor, if I'm Bo Nickel in that situation, I would be hot. But don't get me wrong, amazing finish by Bo Nickel. He did what he was supposed to against a guy like Kyle Dawkins, though. This was a winnable fight for Bo Nickel stylistically. Did what he needed to do. Moving forward, Mauricio Rufy, Michael Chandler. Chandler, the age showed, you sit out for all of this time hunting for a Conor McGregor fight. You don't get the McGregor fight, and you end up getting back in the octagon against Brazilian Conor McGregor. It didn't go his way, and that was expected on my end. I didn't expect this fight to go his way by any means. I was really amazed, though, by Chandler. Landed 3 strikes in this entire fight. Pretty amazed by that. And I'm not saying I'm amazed by that but on the White House card, right? I thought that was going to be a chance for Chandler to really make a statement and, have one of these wars that we've seen Michael Chandler in. Michael Chandler, Justin Gaethje, who we're going to talk about later. Michael Chandler, Dan Hooker. Michael Chandler, Charles Oliveira. We've seen them in great fights in the UFC. And this was a terrible performance. And I know he's kicking himself for it. You sit out all of that time waiting for Conor McGregor, and you just get matched up by a prime Conor McGregor almost and Mauricio Rufy, man. Rufy looked outstanding, and it didn't take him much time to put Michael Chandler out of there. Josh Hokett, Derek Lewis. Josh Hokett backed up all the talk. Derek Lewis is a very stationary target, and the Josh Hokett's hands looked insane, and the pace that he put on Derek Lewis, absolutely insane. And for a guy who was only 10-0, a former NFL player, to come out and dominate a guy like Derek Lewis, who is, the KO king, and to put him out on the White House, man, like, Sick. All of these guys' stocks go up so much. What's next for Josh Hokett? Alex Pereira. Could see it. You know, a title shot, not likely after, we'll get to it later. It's very interesting, though. Josh Hokett, man, what a performance. Derek Lewis, man, get well soon. Love to see you back in the octagon. You don't lose any stock in my book, bro. You're the KO king. You're a legend in the game. We love Derek Lewis over here. Sean O'Malley, Ayman Zahabi. The result I expected. I expected he was going to be too fast, too quick, move too well. Zahabi's game plan was to go for the low kicks, go for the quad kicks, try to damage the legs up like every opponent tries to do to Sean O'Malley if they can't take him down. There was no takedown attempts from Ayman Zahabi in this fight, so the plan was to get his legs. Try to get to the legs, try to slow that movement down to, set up some body and some head strikes. It just wasn't able to happen. And I think a guy like Sean O'Malley, who just moves so well, he's so agile, he has so many weapons in his arsenal between his hands, his legs, his teeps, the knees. Too many weapons for a guy like Ayman Zahabi, his footwork was terrible. Ayman Zahabi was crossing his feet in the octagon. He seemed pretty, herky-jerky out there. I didn't really like the game plan out of Ayman Zahabi outside of the leg kicks. The leg kicks were on point. Some of them were landing to the inside and the outside of the legs. He was spinning O'Malley around the octagon a little bit. But man, O'Malley's finish on Ayman Zahabi, amazing. I mean, this card was full of finishes. And to move into the co-main event, Ciryl Gane, Alex Pereira. Bear with me on this one. So my issue with this fight right here, right? The back of the head strikes by Ciryl Gane. Ciryl Gane, if you go on YouTube, if you go on Twitter, this guy Ciryl Gane is notorious for the back of the head strikes. And I don't know how he keeps getting away with these back of the head strikes. He got away with at least 10 blatant back of the head strikes against Poatan. And I couldn't believe it, not one bit. Like, even on the replays, I am amazed that Herb Dean, standing that close to the action, didn't stop the fight or didn't even cross his mind. He didn't even get close to the action until he stopped it. And I could not believe that one bit. And granted, Ciryl Gane fought an amazing fight for while it lasted, the 2 rounds that it did. But all I am saying is that the result of Alex Pereira losing following the back of the head strikes and the amount that we saw against a notorious guy who hits to the back of the head like Ciryl Gane, that has got to be something that a ref is looking for going into these fights. And I just don't feel like Herb Dean, and I don't know if he wasn't informed enough. I'm sure he is, dude. Herb Dean has been in the game for so long. I'm sure he's refed. I don't know if he refed Ciryl Gane versus Derek Lewis, but there was some controversy in that one as well. The back of the head strikes. Yeah, the back of the head strikes, they were absolutely there. And if I'm Herb Dean, and I'm watching that on a replay, I'm interested to see what comes out about this Alex Pereira, Ciryl Gane fallout. I don't know if it'll be much. I feel like it's going to be some debate on Twitter. I've seen some already, and I've, said my piece as well. Go ahead, Jake Help on Twitter. Will be linked down in the description below. But listen, when it comes to the back of the head strikes, you have to protect the fighter. It's in the rules for a reason. We've seen, the boxer that had the back of the head strikes, and, he's just not the same. You have to protect these fighters, especially with these little 4-ounce gloves. The elbows, especially to the back of the head, the hammer fist to the back of the head. It's a very tough strike. You can't just take these to the back of the head like it's nothing. I mean, it's just not nothing. So, granted, we'll see Ciryl Gane versus Tom Aspinall rematch. God willing that, we don't see any foul play in that one. We'll love to see that rematch. I know Tom's probably itching to get that one back, but, for Ciryl Gane, if you don't get stopped, you don't stop. If you don't get a, timeout, watch the back of the head, no warning from the ref. You have to play by the rules. You have to play by, the card you're dealt with. You got to play the card you're dealt with. Let's go ahead and talk about this main event, though. One of the greatest fights of all time. Justin the Highlight Gaethje stops Ilia Topuria, the El Matador, in the 4th round by retirement on the stool. Who saw this coming? Who saw Ilia Topuria quitting on the stool against Justin Gaethje? Absolute insanity. And Topuria fought a great 4th round until the end, where Justin Gaethje is beating up those ribs with the knees. But Topuria's face was battered, man. Topuria's face was battered. Justin Gaethje shocks the world, puts on for America at the White House, and he is the new UFC lightweight champion of the world. One of the greatest fights I have ever seen in my life. I am at a loss for words out of what I just watched from that fight and what these two men just put on at the White House. Ilia Topuria put on a great fight and a great performance. Yes, he lost. Yes, he's not the champion anymore. Yes, he lost to a 37, 38-year-old Justin Gaethje. But it was a fight for the ages, and it was a classic Justin Gaethje brawl bar fight, man. It was a Justin Gaethje performance for the ages. That was vintage Justin Gaethje. And he did it against somebody who was projected to knock him out early in the fight. And Ilia was beating him up, bro. Justin Gaethje was rocked to the liver. But the thing is about Ilia Topuria, Ilia, man, when he's hitting you with these body strikes, he's hitting you in the body to get you to drop those hands so he can set something up high, right? We saw him do it to Jai Herbert. We saw him go high on Volkanovski after hitting him in the body. It's his game plan to hit you to the body, get you to drop those hands with those vicious body shots. But Justin Gaethje weathered the storm, put on a performance for the ages, and battered the El Matador on the White House lawn. And it was an absolutely insane performance and one of the greatest fights I've ever seen in my life. Everybody that I'm talking to about Justin the Highlight Gaethje and Ilia Topuria, one of the greatest fights we've ever seen. Strike numbers, very similar on both sides. Ilia Topuria even outstriking him significantly. But it's the body strikes, 37-8 for Topuria. The head strikes, 79-55 for Gaethje. That was the difference in this fight. It was the significant strikes are in Ilia's favor, but the significant strikes to the face of Ilia made him quit on the stool, man. I think he might have 2 broken orbitals on both sides of his face. His face is absolutely ruined, bro. I couldn't believe corner stoppage. If you told me going into this fight we would have seen Justin Gaethje beat Ilia Topuria by corner stoppage, I would have called you insane. And if you would have told me that it was Ilia Topuria that was quitting on the stool, I would have told you that you were absolutely insane. Now, granted, I didn't give Justin Gaethje no chance going into this fight. But I really thought Ilia Topuria, we've never seen him lose, man. When you see a guy with this much momentum and do this to legends, Volkanovski, Oliveira, Max Holloway, you see him do this to 3 consecutive legends. He hasn't given you a reason to pick against him. So why am I going to think that Justin Gaethje can do any different? He just showed me why. He showed me why. He proved a lot of people wrong. And I think a lot of people got proved wrong. Whoever bet the 150,000 on Justin Gaethje to win 750 plus thousand, congratulations. What's next for Justin Gaethje? Let's go ahead and matchmake the rest of this card. Justin Gaethje, I don't know if he fights again. Man, if I'm Justin Gaethje wholeheartedly, I'm at my grand age of 37, going to 38. I just wanted the White House. I don't know if there's going to be another card that fulfills this feeling. I don't know if there's another highlight, another thing I could chase. You finally touch undisputed gold. What else is there? What else is there? You just beat an undefeated 17-0 guy. I say leave it here. Leave it here. In my honest opinion, my humble opinion, I say leave it here. Just because I feel like, what else? You go fight Arman Tsarukyan, you have the chance of losing that one. There's always a chance when you get in the octagon. There was a chance he lost to Ilia tonight. To me, just go out on the win at the White House. You're an American legend for life. People are going to idolize you. You are without a doubt one of the greatest UFC fighters of all time now. You are without a doubt you're up there, man. You're up there. You're up there, man. I'm gonna say John Jones, but man, I'm just saying the magnitude of this card, everything that went into this, him being that big of an underdog, at the age difference, the momentum on Topuria's side, he's never lost. He's the first man to beat him. You're up there, man. You're up there. I say go out on the win. I say go out on the win, but I'm not the fighter. I'm not. This is a conversation for a later day with Justin Gaethje. For Ilia Topuria, man, if it's not Arman Tsarukyan, if Justin Gaethje retires, make Ilia versus Arman for the, vacant belt. If it's not that, Paddy Pimblett, Ilia Topuria, Mauricio Rufy versus Ilia Topuria. There's matchups there is all I'm saying. If Arman gets booked against Gaethje, go make Topuria versus Mauricio Rufy, in my opinion. But moving forward, Poatan Pereira. Poatan's got to fight Josh Hokit, however you want to say it. Alex Pereira versus Josh Hokit next. Ciryl Gane versus Tom Aspinall next. I think those are two very easy matchups. We don't have to spend too much time talking about those. Sean O'Malley's got to be Petr Yan. Petr Yan versus Sugar Sean O'Malley. Don't know when, don't care when. I'll watch it. If it's Merab, if Merab's nose is okay to compete against Petr Yan, great. Get Peter in there with Merab. But man, after a KO performance like that, at a card that was this amazing, get Sugar Sean on, get him a title fight by the end of the year if Peter's back is okay. Ayman Zahabi, Ayman was on a good win streak before this fight. He's a tough, durable guy. So, a sniper that moves as well as Sean O'Malley, I'm not too mad at him losing this fight. I expected him to lose this fight, quite honestly. I thought this was stylistically an easy matchup for Sean O'Malley. It was just the durability of Ayman that was really in question. He's durable. He stays in there. But, for Ayman Zahabi, give me, there's so many good. Get Marcus McGee. Get Marcus McGee versus Ayman Zahabi. Josh Hokit versus Derek Lewis. Hokit, I would say give Hokit. Yeah, it's got to be Pereira, man. It's got to be Pereira. I don't see anything else. Derek Lewis. Taliesin Teixeira rematch. Give him another knockout. Give Derek Lewis an easy fight, man. He's 41. And I'm also not mad. Derek Lewis, if you want to retire, my guy. Herb Dean fault. Am I right? Herb Dean fault. For the Alex Pereira, Herb Dean fault, right? Derek Lewis, famous words. Herb Dean's fault. It's Herb Dean's fault that Alex Pereira got smoked like that. The back of the headshot's Herb Dean's fault. Mauricio Rufy, Michael Chandler. Yeah, like I said, Mauricio Rufy versus Ilia Topuria. Interesting matchup. Obviously, we got Benoit Saint Denis. We got him matched up. We got BSD matched up with somebody coming soon, right? I think I want to say Benny's matched up. Yeah, Benny versus Paddy Pimblett. I'd say winner of BSD versus Paddy Pimblett fight Ilia Topuria. That's perfect right there. BSD versus Paddy Pimblett winner versus Ilia Topuria. That's your matchup at lightweight. Moving forward, Michael Chandler, man. Yeah, hold out for a McGregor fight in like bare knuckle boxing or something. I don't know, man. I really don't know what's next for Michael Chandler. It's a tough one. Bo Nickel, give him you know what? I'm going to say it. If Bo Nickel, give him Nasruddin Imavov, Hamzat Chimaev, or Brendan Allen. Either of those three. I think he needs that jump up in competition, man. I'm just not moved by this Kyle Dawkins fight. I'm just not moved from it. It was, to me, the easiest fight to pick is Bo Nickel versus Kyle Dawkins. That was the easiest fight to predict, in my opinion. And granted, there was a lot of predictable fights. When it comes to, in the next fight being Diego Lopez, Steve Garcia. Diego Lopez has just been in the UFC, been in these 5-rounders, fought Volkanovski twice. You just know he knows the fight IQ. He's been in there. He kind of showed his levels to this game. Steve Garcia came out wild in round 1, trying to finish the fight in round 1. Had good moments in round 1. But to all of that, Diego Lopez stayed, weathered the storm, and he knows how to finish fights. He's been in there with Volkanovski twice. It was a great performance for all of these athletes on the card, man. It was just awesome to see this card unfold. From Zach Brown Band performing the national anthem, the fighter jets, the production, the lights, all of the fans watching. It was a spectacle for the ages. And I don't know if we ever going to witness something like this in UFC history again, but for this one night right here, this one night, this was one of the most awesome things to see in MMA and combat sports history, and dare I say, sports history. This was one of the greatest sporting events in history, and we just witnessed history on the South Lawn of the White House. Can't be understated or overstated enough. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed the breakdown a little bit. I will have more content coming out about this card and what's to come for the future. We're in a bit of a different setup right now, but going to be in a new setup in a couple of months. Hopefully y'all enjoyed the breakdown. If y'all did, like, comment, subscribe. Check out all the socials in the description. I will see y'all later. Peace.